Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to What's Growing On. We're happy to have you as always. And of course, we're always happy to have Tarrant with Victory Teaching Farm down here in Mobile. Good morning, Tarrant. Thanks again for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks again for having me.
Absolutely. And so today we are going to be talking about we've got a lot of great pictures to show you guys of decorations you can do out of your garden, really out of your yard. There's a lot of them you can do out of your yard too. So even if you don't have that garden or your garden's kind of done for the year. So we're really excited about this. So Tarrant, tell us a little bit about what we're going to see today, what different subjects we have, and we'll get started.
Yeah. So during the pandemic, when I was home with my children, homeschooling, just like a lot of people, the holidays were rolling around and just, we weren't out and about. And it just, I spent a little bit more time outside of my house in my yard while my children were inside doing school and so some of these things I had already kind of researched and did myself, just crafts, something that just, the mental release and then the physical aspect of it, and it just being outside and kind of stepping away from what we were all experiencing at that time. Just it was good for the soul, and then it was good for sprucing things up for the holidays to kind of get you in a festive mood to celebrate, even though we didn't get to see anybody that year. But I could walk outside my yard and do a little project, and so some of these are so easy, so inexpensive. Some of them are free, and it's a great way to spruce your house up for the holidays without having to spend gobs and gobs of money, and order things and such. I mean, you can walk right out your front or back door and decorate your house for the fall season, including Halloween.
Right. Perfect. All right. Well, without further ado, let's get started. We're going to start with different kinds of wreaths today. So, Tarrant, tell us about the different wreaths we can make.
Yeah, so and there's a few on here that I've actually done before. I have a huge magnolia tree in my front yard, and so they're super simple, easy to make. You really just need some kind of, and you can get these at your local craft stores and things like that. You can buy an actual wreath, just a blank wreath, just a piece of foam. And foam usually works the best for stuff that you're picking outside, because you can just poke the stems of the leaves or right in them. But pine cones. We live here in the South and throughout Alabama, pine trees, and there's tons of pine cones and tons of pine straw and green straw. And I'm sure most of us have it in our yards or near. The magnolia leaf wreath, again, is easy. And this one has actually some other type of kind of brownish, I'm not sure what leaf it is, but, a typical just brown leaf that falls in our yards at this time. And you basically just plug them into the little foam form, the wreath form. And if you want to get even more crafty with that, like with the pine cones and things like that, you can pull out the hot glue gun. But essentially you're talking about making a gorgeous wreath for your door, out of things of your yard. And if you've already got a glue gun, you're good to go. If not, you're $5 in on, a project that's a wreath for your door, which might cost you $35, $40, to purchase.
Right. And they really are expensive. Wreaths are just, already made wreaths are crazy. And let's see, Tawana says, yay, finally a use for the pine cones. Absolutely. And like you said, my glue gun is my companion. So, I use it for everything. And it's so easy. And I remember as a kid, I lived further up in the country, close to Citronelle, and we had a lot of vines. And there's a lot of vines around here too. but just a lot. We had scuppernong vines,
Hmm.
and we would take those and we would make wreaths out of those, and they were really pretty. Just the vines themselves, and you just kind of wind them around themselves in circles, and it's just really easy to do. I mean, I was a kid and I was able to do it, but it's so many different options.
Yeah, so talking about that, and I'm going to respond to Tawana too, because
Hmm.
yeah, we're like, if we've got pine trees, we've got pine cones everywhere, and
Hmm.
they're a pain, especially if you step on one. But on the pine cones, and I can't remember if we've got another picture of this and some, and some other
Hmm.
decorative stuff, but baskets of pine
Yep.
cones just sitting by the front door. You can actually buy cinnamon scented pine cones, which the scent wears away, not
Hmm.
too long after you get them, and then you've just got a basket full of pine cones. But
Hmm.
if you want that same kind of look, oh yep, there it is. There's
Yep.
one. And I actually do this every season. I
Hmm.
set a
Me
big
too.
basket of pine cones right by my back door, and it just adds, such a kind of a, I don't know,
Hmm.
festive fallish feel. And it's pine cones you picked up out of your yard.
Hmm.
But on the note of the vines, I actually tried to find some images, but I did that as a kid too. We had lots of different trees with vines, and there was one that the vine was a woody vine. And we would make those wreaths as well. So look around in your yards, and that's what I want people to do with this. Is
Hmm.
I want you to get outside in nature and in your yards and just kind of look around at your natural resources. We spend so much time, energy, and money buying things that
Hmm.
we could actually get right out of our yards. But yeah, I
Right.
mean, that it is a very simple method to make a wreath out of vines. You really are just twisting them around each other in a circle. I mean, you might could secure them with maybe a little bit of fishing line or some string just to kind of have
Hmm.
a point that they secure. Um, and then you can embellish them. Like you said, they're beautiful just plain, just wrapped, or you can
Hmm.
embellish them. Pull out that glue gun, put some pine
Right.
cones on them, take some
Exactly.
autumn leaves. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. And Tawana says again, that's really smart. And we have multiple shapes of pine cones. Exactly.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I remember one of the things my grandfather, who lived down the street from me, way up in the country, he would pay us to pick up the pine cones in his yard. He had a really big yard with lots of pine trees, and so he would pay us like a nickel a pine cone that the grandkids would pick up, and
Mhm.
he would I don't even remember what he would do with them, but he just wanted them out of his yard. And what better thing than to repurpose them, like you said. So, and it's like you said, you can buy them, but why when there's just so many we have? So
Right, absolutely. And again, I mean,
mhm,
you can use them in so many other different ways beyond just
mhm.
a basket. I've used them in a bowl as a centerpiece on a dining room table and just kind of spread those around
Right.
with a candle in the middle. So, I mean, you just have to think outside.
Mhm,
Think outside, not just even outside of the box, but
mhm.
think outside and
Right.
look and see what you have. So, is this actually our next slide?
Yeah, this is our next slide. So that was a perfect segue. And
Okay, yeah. So
again, and Tawana mentioned another thing. She sprayed clear coat finish on her pine cones. And Joan Kieran says spray pine cones silver or gold for Christmas decorations. And that's a great idea.
yes, thank
Yeah.
you, Joan, for that, because I was about to mention that the pine cones, the magnolia wreaths, the twine, or
Hmm.
those kind of wreaths, anything like that, out of the vines and things like that, you can transition those from
Hmm.
fall to Christmas. And then you can even possibly transition. It's such a thing now with everybody, that they decorate for all the holidays.
Hmm.
People have Christmas trees up year round, and they just change with the
Yep.
next current holiday. And you
Hmm.
can do this with your wreaths and your
Hmm.
pine cones. And again, you just have to be creative with it. And
Absolutely.
again, money saver, definitely. And you're
Definitely.
using natural resources. So I think
Hmm.
that's, awesome.
And
But
I love the leaves on the pictures here too. Like just, just some leaves and some simple glass bottles or glass vases, and and then the dried plants up there. I actually have one of those gosh, I can't remember. Is it a grapevine hydrangea? They have the big white flowers. But I have one of those in my yard, and by this time, they're usually all kind of dry
Uh-huh.
looking, but they're still there. They're still intact, and I've used those for centerpieces before, just cutting out the dry part, and it's perfect for autumn and fall. Fall. So,
Oh yeah. Well, we tend to think, and just with like these, I mean, we all, not all of us are so lucky to have the beautiful red and orange and gold
hmm
leaves. We're mostly oak trees and magnolias and pine, down here in South Alabama. But if you're lucky enough to have some of the trees that have these leaves that turn, they're great. But we they're beautiful to look at, but I don't think we think about clipping a few off and doing exactly what we see on the screen here, is putting them in a little small glass jar or a mason jar or any kind of little bottle. Um,
hmm
I don't think we think about that as much. And, we think about, everything's drying out and turning brown and dying for the winter.
hmm
But, if you see in these pictures, it can be beautiful, things that look like they're straight out of a magazine, that all you've done
right.
is used one of your already vases that you have, or a tea pitcher or something like
hmm
that. And you've gone out in your yard with your scissors, and now you have a beautiful decorative centerpiece, or, something to put on a side table that, brings fall inside.
hmm Right, exactly. And the other great thing too right now are I've noticed this in my walks just around my neighborhood are acorns are everywhere. And that's another easy one you can just throw in with the pine cones, and you can spray paint those suckers and everything and stick those on a wreath. So it's really, and I think it's kind of fun, like you said, to get outside and to just kind of look at stuff in your yard or around your house that are, that, and look at them in a different way.
Yeah, and
um
I like that you mentioned the acorns, because in doing my some of my research and looking for a lot of images, one of those, it was acorns, like it was a Thanksgiving table, and
mhm.
they had a centerpiece, but they had little acorns kind of scattered just like right around the middle, and it just added something that just made it so much, more.
Right,
So
right, yeah, so that's great. So let's look at some other stuff here. um
okay,
let's
wait, what is?
see.
There's a comment about how to clean the pine cones.
Okay, put them in a very low oven to clean. Okay,
Okay, wow. Okay, Jen, I
I
have
never thought
never
about that.
cleaned a pine cone.
And
So,
she said later, no insects. So I would,
gotcha.
yeah, yeah. Just make sure it's a very low oven and that you remember that they're in there. Let's
Exactly.
all say that for safety purposes, but great idea. Really good idea.
Yeah, thank
Now,
you.
this next one is one of my favorites, I think. I mean, it might be my favorite, are what you can do with stumps.
Oh my gosh. So, when I was talking about during the pandemic, that I kind of got out and did some things,
hmm
this is one of the ones that I did. We had a hurricane,
hmm
um, and there were trees down all over our neighborhood,
hmm
and there was lots of logs that looked just like this, where people had been cutting up logs that had, and my neighbor across the street had a lot of trees down. So I saw something like this, and so I was immediately across the street in my neighbor's wood pile, pulling out logs that looked like they could be. And what's crazy is I didn't get any that were lopsided, because I felt like they needed to be straight up. But then when
hmm
I saw this particular image, I'm like, oh my gosh, I could have used any of them.
Yeah, so cute. So
But yes,
cute.
this is one of the things that I did. And I had two ghosts on my front porch. And
How
so,
cute.
your material is free other
hmm
than the spray paint.
hmm
And I basically, I mean, if you're an artist and you can, I made my own stencil out of a piece of copy paper, and I just drew out, I set the paper on top of where I wanted the face to be, and then I just kind of drew it out.
hmm
And then I went back and then just cut out that, and I made my own custom made stencil to use. And then I just taped it on to the front of the logs
hmm
and spray painted the face on. Of course, I spray painted the log first, and then I spray painted the face on. That was, there's
Mhm.
2 steps: spray the log first, then spray on the face.
Mhm.
But I mean, so simple. I probably had uh, $5 in this particular
Mhm.
project, and that was just the cans of spray paint.
How
So
cute. How cute is that? And like you said, it's perfect. You hit the nail on the head when you mentioned, hurricanes and, people get high winds and tornadoes all over the state. And this
yeah,
is like a perfect way to kind of make use of that and kind of, make something happy out of something that's maybe not so happy. But yeah, what a great idea. And how cute is that?
yep.
So cute. So let's see what else we've got. We've got so many. You've got so many great ideas on here. And I am going to mention before we get started on this one, you will see the little wheelbarrow up there with obviously fake pumpkins in it. And Tarrant had a really great picture of a wheelbarrow with real pumpkins in it, but that picture did not want to be on the show. I could not get it to download. I could not get it to save. So I had to scramble and find this picture, but hopefully you kind of get the gist of the idea of how cute it is. So I just had to put that disclaimer on there because Tarrant really did have a great picture with real pumpkins. And that was my technological failure on my part. So Tarrant,
No,
tell
no,
us
no,
about these.
no. So, and actually, that picture I took with my phone. It was my neighbor
Hmm.
across the street. It's her front
Hmm.
porch, and so maybe it probably had something to do with the fact that I took it with my phone, and then so. But no, thanks, Dorothy, for representing it, because that is one of the things I think is so awesome. So many of us
Yeah.
have a wheelbarrow. Um,
Hmm.
or even any kind of little small cart. It doesn't even have to be like, a big heavy duty wheelbarrow. Any kind of little small cart, or
Hmm.
again, you have to just kind of look around at what you have, and just kind of be creative. But yeah, the wheelbarrow, what she did was she filled the bottom full, and this one's kind of the same way. So you don't have to buy a million pumpkins, or
Hmm.
maybe you've grown your own pumpkins and have a plentiful. But
Hmm.
she filled the bottom, probably got just like a block of pine straw from a local garden center, and filled the bottom
Hmm.
with the straw, and then
Hmm.
went and bought different colored and sized pumpkins.
Hmm.
And then just kind of, and she actually put a fern that usually hangs on her front porch.
Yeah.
She put the fern in the back of the
Hmm.
wheelbarrow, and then positioned the pumpkins around, and it is the cutest thing. But it's using something that you already have. And yes, she did have to purchase the pumpkins, but she already
Hmm.
had the fern. She already had
Hmm.
the wheelbarrow. So, and we all typically, I think a lot of people typically buy pumpkins this time of the year,
Right.
everywhere, and we decorate
Right.
with them on our front porch, or we carve them, or
Hmm.
So, but yeah, pumpkins and gourds, and they're everywhere. Grocery stores, local garden
Hmm.
centers, and it's just I love all the different varieties that are out there that you just have such easy access to. And
Hmm.
so again, there's so many ways you can decorate outside and inside,
Hmm.
with pumpkins and gourds. So
Yeah.
just beyond your standards, sit one on the front porch and carve it, the night before Halloween.
Right, right. And we've got some great, let's see, Tawana mentioned going back to the stumps, great activities for kids. Absolutely. Something good coming from the storm. And
Yes,
you are very right. And then Ann Hale says a red wagon for your pumpkins. How cute would that be?
yes,
Um, Especially again, if you have kiddos. And then Joan posted real quick just about baking out the bugs of the pine cones. So that's great information to know. So that is all in the comments, folks. And I will keep trying to upload that picture. If I can get that picture uploaded, I will put it in the comments of your Tarrant, of your neighbor's pumpkin wagon. But
oh, okay.
yeah, I'll keep trying. Yeah, these are just such great. There's the little pumpkins on what is that, like a cake plate, and then just some kind of set around on a table, and it's so easy. These little ones down here in the corner. I mean, you could get a
Hmm.
bag of those pretty cheap at the grocery store, and
Oh
just
yeah.
put them in a basket. I mean, so easy. Um, and then the flowers in the pumpkin.
Oh yeah,
So.
yeah. I mean, it's there's just endless opportunities. Again, you just have
Hmm.
to look outside and
Hmm.
look at what you have, And again, some of these might require purchases, but if you're creative enough with it.
Yeah, it's low cost, and
Local.
having little kiddos, and getting those little pumpkins and the little gourds.
Hmm.
I'm ashamed to say well, I don't know if I'm ashamed to say it, but they do last forever. They
They
will
do.
last forever. So, if you can, kind of keep them in a place that's kind of dry and dark and not too, um, icky, they'll last. They could potentially last till the next year too.
Well,
So,
yes, I was going to say, especially the gourds, like in that
mhm.
bottom.
Oh, I think you froze up, Tarrant. But you're talking about the gourds in the bottom picture. I think those are pretty easy to dry out,
Right
and
picture
they
that
can.
the
Oh,
am I
there
back?
you are. Yeah, you're back. You're back. So,
Yeah, no, those are really easy to dry out, and
mhm,
and it's funny because they'll have the seeds inside, and they actually can be little shakers. Once
cute,
they dry out, the seeds will just kind of be inside, and they'll kind of rattle, which would be
like
fun for kids. But
natural maracas.
yeah,
So,
exactly, exactly.
yeah,
Wow, that's a whole nother show, isn't it?
I know. Musical instruments from the garden.
Yeah,
Wow, we are.
no, really. But yeah, so yeah, some of these things you literally can carry them over even
Mhm.
into the next year. So more money savings for you and more use of natural resources.
Absolutely. Next, we're going to talk about illumination. So, what you can do to kind of make things look bright and romantic, or set some kind of mood, maybe a little spooky. So,
Yeah.
tell us about this. These are great ideas.
Yeah, so typically we just, we carve a pumpkin and we put the candles in,
Hmm.
and but I thought this was very interesting with the gourds. And
Hmm.
these are just like what we saw, these little miniature pumpkins and gourds. Most grocery stores have them by the
Hmm.
bags. So you can get like a variety bag, and you can put the little tea light candles in them, or if you prefer not to burn candles, you can buy battery powered tea lights by the
Hmm.
dozens now at any, local
Hmm.
store. And so it's a great way to add, that candle effect, but in a fall way. I love the mason jar candles. If you're a
Hmm.
big canner, those would be fun to make. So you just carve your pumpkin like you normally would, and just basically carve out the square the size of
Hmm.
the mason jar, and put your jar down in there with your candle or your little tea light, battery, and you've got a unique pumpkin besides your traditional. I love the oh gosh, butternut squash.
Hmm.
um, I have never thought about doing that.
I know that
Um,
is
it
precious.
is cute as can be, and that is really unique, and
Hmm.
that would be a really unique addition to a front porch,
Right.
kind of pumpkin carving type,
Hmm.
thing. And then the mason jar with the little fairy lights. Those little fairy
Hmm.
lights are everywhere. They're at the dollar stores. They're easy to find. They're typically always battery operated. Some are solar powered, but they almost add the effect of like fireflies in a jar.
They do.
Um,
They do. How
so,
cute is that?
and they're gorgeous. I mean, you can use them on the table. You can use
Hmm.
them, out on your porch. I mean, I think the opportunities are endless. You can use them as decorative in your guest bathroom, as a little added extra,
Yeah.
illumination. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just endless opportunities. And a lot of us already have a mason jar laying around. You could use an old pickle jar. I mean,
Hmm.
get the label off, and it's not going to really matter the size or shape of the jar. Because once you put the little lights in it, even if you're using just like tea lights, it
Hmm.
totally, changes the look of it. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. So cute. All right. And so our final slide is just a bunch of pictures that are just kind of for fun. So just some extra little stuff to show you guys. How cute are these?
uh, yeah, so I am so sorry. Give me 2 seconds. I
No,
have
you're
a
fine. You're
text from
fine.
my daughter at school. Sorry for the interruption, folks, but sometimes life does that,
Oh,
doesn't it?
yes, it does. No
Okay.
problem.
Okay. All right. I'm good now. So, oh my gosh. Yes. So, again, talking about the pandemic, the terracotta pot, that was the
Yes.
other one. I had a terracotta pot that cracked down the very middle, and I just had two halves of a terracotta pot.
Mhm.
And again, it was one of those days that I had to walk away from the kids while they were doing homeschool, whether they were Zooming and needed utter quiet or whether mom needed quiet. But
Right.
this is one of those things I just got outside and I thought, what can I do with this? Um,
Mhm.
and so what's interesting is it just came into my head to do this.
Mhm.
I had not seen, I had seen the ghost, the stump ghost, but I had not
Mhm.
seen anything like this. But I was in
Yeah.
that mode, and it's
Right.
interesting once you get in that mind frame, when you walk
Mhm.
outside, you really start seeing things. It's like inspiration, and you start seeing things that, oh my gosh, I could do this with that. Um,
Right.
which is really cool. It's like tapping into your creative side that you may not use as much as you would want to, or you feel like you're able to. But yeah, the
Mhm.
terracotta pot thing, and it could be a whole pot, it could be just the bottoms, it could be a broken one. I have one that broke into four pieces after one of our last storms. um,
Mhm.
and I've saved all four pieces because I'm getting ready to do exactly what is on this slide here, is create little jack-o'-lanterns around
Mhm.
on them. Same process. I just took
Yeah.
a piece of paper, I drew out the size of what I needed, cut it out, taped it back to
Mhm.
the pot, and then spray painted the face on. um,
Perfect.
but if you're an artist, can freehand that. um,
Yeah.
I'm not really that great at freehanding artwork, so I made a template. But but yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, easy peasy.
So
And
cute.
even if you have to go purchase the pots, they're not expensive.
Not at all. And
Um,
another cute idea, you were saying yours is broken. If you glue it back together, you could almost just paint it green and have it as a Frankenstein, and your cracks can be as stitches. So there's
that
always, you know,
yes, there you go. See, listen, already you're
I
thinking,
know, I know. Look
you're
at
tapping
this.
into that creativity.
Yeah, yeah. I have my moments, few
Yeah.
and far between, but and another thing that I just love too, that is just so simple, but it's so pretty. I mean, these look like they could be on the front of a magazine, are just the bowls in the basket of the pine cones with some
Yep.
oranges and some sprigs, and
Yep.
just so simple, but just so fresh and clean and
And
just
fragrant.
yeah, yeah.
Natural air freshener for your home.
Hmm.
And I think the bottom one has some cinnamon sticks in it, and
Hmm.
you buy those in the spice section at your local grocery store.
Hmm.
Um, and then of course your oranges, or some of us, well, I don't have them. My neighbors across the street have satsuma trees, and then
Hmm.
my sister-in-law has oranges and lemons. And so if you're lucky enough to have citrus
Hmm.
plants, then pine cones
Yeah,
and citrus in a bowl and clip off a few of those pine leaves, and you've spent nothing to have a
right.
beautiful, fragrant centerpiece. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you have to tell us about the eyeball picture because that is genius and also creepy, but I love it. So,
yeah, I know. I think I might try to attempt this. I might
yeah.
have to get one of my children or my husband, who are a little bit more artistically inclined, to paint the eyeball portion. But it looks so simple. It basically is just a pumpkin that you've carved out like you normally would, and carved a big enough hole in the top to put a little miniature white pumpkin down in it. So, you might have to do a little bit of finagling and try to figure out,
Mhm.
how big your eyeball hole needs to be, for lack of better words.
Right.
But yeah, it's basically an orange pumpkin and a miniature white pumpkin, and they've painted the
The
you know the
eyeballs.
eye. Yeah,
So
yeah,
cool. So
yeah. I
cool.
thought it was really cool,
Yeah.
and like you said, a little creepy, but
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it really cute. And then these are great projects too. The bottom ones for
Hmm.
kids. I believe these pumpkins have leaves and sticks for
Hmm.
mouths.
Looks like
Um,
rosemary for eyelashes.
rosemary for eyebrows or eyelashes.
Uh-huh.
Um, So
Maybe
just
some
super
beans, just some dried beans or peas or something.
yes, peas, yes, which you
Yeah.
probably may have in your, your
Yeah.
pantry. So again,
Mhm.
it's like you might have to go buy the pumpkins if you didn't grow your own.
Mhm.
Um, but pumpkins are abundant right now. I mean, people are
Mhm.
selling them everywhere. You've got
Right.
farmers selling them at the farmers markets. You've got, grocery stores, big box stores. I mean, you can find pumpkins. So
Mhm.
they are definitely abundant this time of year for obvious reasons. But yeah, I mean, it looks like they bought the pumpkins and then just kind of foraged through their house and their yard for things
Yep.
to decorate them with. And this is a cute alternative to carving pumpkins. Um,
Mhm.
if you've got a real little one, or
Right.
if you just prefer not to carve them, they do last
Mhm.
longer when they're not carved.
Right.
Because they don't have the moisture and everything. So you could actually probably do them right now and they'd last all the way through, Halloween.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then just going back to, just easy old paint one and put a witch hat
Right.
on it. Just because it's a pumpkin doesn't mean it has to be a jack-o'-lantern pumpkin. It could be
Mm-mm.
a witch, or just like the
Absolutely.
terracotta pot could turn into a Frankenstein. It's
Exactly.
there are the it's endless what you could do.
Yes, yes. And folks, if y'all are watching and y'all have some pictures, feel free to upload those to the comments to show us some of your ideas. We had Miss Joan who was telling us about how to clean the pine cones. That's brilliant. So I mean, if you have ideas, we'd love to see them on the comments. So please share them with us. But these are just great, great ideas. And let's see, we're going to be back. I believe, let me check my calendar so I can tell you um, the correct date. We'll be back on November 3rd
Mm-hmm.
for another episode. And Tarrant, thanks so much for this. These are so
Yeah.
cute.
Yeah, and of course, November, we're going to be in Thanksgiving mode.
Mm-hmm.
So we definitely are going to be focusing on Thanksgiving. And of course, we always are going to pull in the garden some way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that you mentioned, if anybody has any ideas or anything that they want to share, we'd love to
Mm-hmm.
see that. What I'd also like to do is challenge our viewers to maybe do some of these things that were in
Yeah.
our show today, and then send them in. I believe
Yeah.
they can send them to my email.
Yep.
I think they could probably send them to you as
Mm-hmm.
well. Maybe if you put that link
Yep.
in the chat area in the comments, they can send them to whomever. But I would love to see what creative things people can create out of their yard for the holidays, and
Absolutely.
maybe we can highlight them before our Thanksgiving show and just kind of give a shout out to those that are taking something away from these shows. I'd love to see it. I really would love to see
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I would too. That'd be great. And I put Tarrant's email address
Okay.
in the comments, and I'll put mine as well. So if you do have some pictures you want to send us or show us, please do. We'd love to see them. And we'd love to show them to everybody too in our next show. So
Yeah, challenge everybody to get out there and get out in their
right,
yards and get creative with what nature's
right,
given us. And if
absolutely,
you go buy something, a pumpkin or something, but we'd still love to see, what
yeah.
everybody's doing. I'd love to see if somebody does the eyeball. I'm going to try that.
I know, I know. Okay, well, then you'll have to send in a picture, Taryn, if you do the eyeball, because I really want to see. I want to see
Uh-oh.
that. And but
Okay,
that's
the pressure.
yeah, the pressure's on now. But folks, thanks so much for joining us. We are going to show you our real quick events video of all of our events coming up. We've got some great ones as always. And Taryn, again, I want to thank you so much for this. This has really gotten me into the fall mood. So
Good.
thank you
I
for
hope
that.
so.
Yeah, and we've got a lot of thank yous in the comments as well. Miss Elaine, Miss Tawana, Miss Joan, you are all very, very welcome. We are so thankful that you are here with us today. So, folks, we'll show our events video, and we will see you again on November 3rd. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.